to TAC Talk Shorts. My name is Mel Hartley from the Training Accreditation Council, or TAC. And before we start, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are recording on, the Whadjuk people. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. This episode forms part of a 4-part series on Amplifying Excellence in WA VET through award winner stories. In these episodes, we speak to people driving outstanding achievement in vocational training. Today, I am talking to Amy Hunt, who is the winner of both the WA and the Australian Apprentice of the Year awards. Amy is currently working at Western Power after completing her apprenticeship in distribution cable jointing. Amy, it is great to have you here. Winning both the WA and the Australian Apprentice of the Year awards is an incredible feat. It's inspiring to see a young woman excel in such a traditionally male-dominated field. How does it feel to be recognised for your achievements?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it still is really surreal, even at the moment. You know, my 4-year apprenticeship journey had its ups and downs and had its challenges and highs along the way. But yeah, I think it's really good recognition, not only for the hard work that I think I put in myself, but great recognition for my family and support system as well as my employer. Yeah, it's great recognition all around, I think.
That's great. First, let's delve into your fascinating world. What is it exactly that you do?
So my job title is a cable joiner. Probably much like when I first started, I didn't have a lot of idea of what a cable jointer actually was. But to put simply, I work in an electrical trade. I work on the underground distribution network, so installing all new pillars, transformers, all kinds of things. A good way to put it is the overhead power lines. I work on the underground equivalent of that.
That sounds like pretty hardcore and heavy lifting. Do you get pretty dirty doing that?
Yeah, definitely. Down in trenches, and the work is generally heavy and obviously high risk. We're the last state in Australia to still work on the network live. So it comes with its high risk element, but it's a really fulfilling job as well because you're, directly involved with the community and giving back to the community as well, which is one of the highlights, I think.
How did you actually come about being a cable jointer? I know you come from a family background in manual trades. Did that have an influence?
Yeah, definitely. Through high school, even as young as primary school, I always had the dream of joining the police force. I never really had a backup plan. It was always eggs in one basket kind of thing. When I left high school in year 12, after finishing year 12, I applied for the police and I obviously got knocked back. And at that point, I think for any 18-year-old leaving high school, it's a really challenging time trying to navigate what you want to do in terms of career and finding yourself and what interests you. So through my footy club, I found a sales role working for an RTO. Actually, funnily enough, I was working there as a career advisor, helping students find diploma level programs to be able to help support them in their own studies, which kind of seemed pretty ironic now considering I didn't really know what I wanted to do either. But as you mentioned, my dad and brother are both working trades. My dad's been a panel beater by trade for most of my life. And my brother also as a sign writer is his trade. And growing up, I've always wanted to be like my big brother and like my dad. So I suppose you could say I just followed in their footsteps as I kind of always did and landed myself in the cable joining apprenticeship. Like I said before, I actually had no idea about cable joining. I just kind of applied for any apprenticeship I could find, whether that was electrical or plumbing or anything. And it just happened to be that the Western Power one was what landed.
That's so interesting. And just a little bit more about your apprenticeship. I'm just wondering if I can ask about the nitty-gritty of it. Did you follow a specific schedule of training blocks or was it more flexible? And most importantly, what qualification did you walk away with at the end?
Yeah, so the training schedule as such was probably a little bit different to conventional trade. I did go to TAFE at North Metro TAFE in Balga for a couple of blocks, but that was really just a minimal part of the trade itself, qualification itself. Most of my training was done at Western Power's RTO, which is Power Training Services in Jandakot. This is where I learned all my live jointing, kind of distribution-specific kind of tasks. Obviously, Western Power is owned by the government and does most of its training in-house, which was a bit different to, I suppose, your conventional trade. And then as well, majority was on-the-job training, learning from, the other guys in the field and the guys that have been around a long time. So that's where majority of the training came from. And at the end, I came out with Certificate 3 in ESI distribution cable joining.
So, looking back, were there any moments of triumph or were there any challenges that truly shaped your experience? It could be like a project that tested your skills to the limit or a mentor who provided invaluable guidance. Anything stick out?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was, in terms of challenges, I think that was a big one, both professionally and it personally. In a professional setting, I was obviously the only female cable joiner in my kind of area. I'm actually the second ever female cable joiner to finish their apprenticeship with Western Power.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's cool to be a trailblazer in that aspect, but that also came with its own challenges. Growing up in sport and things like that, I've always kind of been in the one girl with all the boys, and also that comes with sometimes different people having different opinions of why I'm employed or why I'm there. But I think that environment is definitely changing, but it did definitely come with its own challenges. In a personal setting, that was probably the biggest thing through my apprenticeship. Through my apprenticeship, both my parents unfortunately got sick. My mum got cancer, started my apprenticeship, and then halfway through, my dad suffered a major heart attack. And then at the very end, the week before my final trade test, just to top it all off, my dad suffered a major stroke. So as you can imagine, final trade test, probably the biggest point of my career so far. And I suppose you could say my mind wasn't super on task, worrying about my dad and everything else. So the challenges came with that, I suppose, being a apprentice with full-time study, as well as trying to navigate that and financially, emotionally, physically supporting my family as well. Yeah, I think probably more so personally, the challenges were there, but also in that professional sense as well.
Did you get any support from the RTO through this time?
Yeah, they were really good, to be fair. The support from not only the RTO, throughout all of this, they gave me plenty of opportunity to defer my training or even just push back my final trade test to probably a time when things were a bit more smoother sailing. And even the employer, Western Power, all my bosses have been great throughout the whole journey, super supportive. We obviously have access to the EAP through work as well, which has been a really good resource for me. But also, more importantly, my work friends, I think, as well. With anyone you work with, you become quite a tight-knit group. Everyone's been really supportive through it all. So I've been very lucky.
Oh, that's really good to hear. It's really important to have the work friends, the support to get you through. You were talking about being in a male-dominated field, and I just wanted to ask a little bit more about that because the new standards for RTOs, one of the key focuses is on the creation of positive organisational cultures that value diversity. And as someone who has navigated a traditionally male-dominated field, did you encounter any initiatives or practices during your apprenticeship that really did promote that inclusivity and made you feel supported as a woman in this field?
I think to some extent. I know Western Power, obviously the employer governs the training role. I'm really making a conscious effort at the moment and bringing in some 3 to 5 year initiatives around diversity in the workplace, especially in terms of operational women. In saying that, there's definitely a long way to go in terms of just the little things, probably more so. In the previous depot I was in, it was quite an old depot, been around for a long time. There was only one female operational toilet, things like that, where we've just moved to a nice flash new depot. This depot, has more than enough facilities for women now and also in the future as women continue to enter the workforce. And I think when you think of something like that, facilities and toilets and showers, it seems such a small thing, but it's a big thing in making women feel included. As well, I know next week at Western Power, we have the International Women's Day breakfast. And this is a really great way just to show the business and show the people within the business that they are supported. I know for myself, I've been at Western Power 5 years now and I've seen the improvement. So I think overall, Western Power as a whole are really, really pushing just have a bit more visibility of women in operational roles as well. So I think the initiative is there and the progress is there. It's just obviously there's still a little way to go until we get that equality or equity or whatever you'd like to call it. But we're definitely moving in the right direction. Even in the training role, though, throughout my apprenticeship, we had the first of a female trainer, which was good visibility for me. I think it's a big thing of you can't be what you can't see. And I think that's really important in those roles. The training centre is also a male-dominated industry, and it's cool to see, more and more women coming through that.
And I suppose also been working in an RTO as well. Do you have any suggestions for other RTOs on how they can truly create supportive spaces for learners from diverse backgrounds or genders?
Yeah, I think, like you said, working in RTO as well gave me perspective not only on women in male-dominated industries, but also people from other countries and other diverse groups. I think playing a major part in that. Some recommendations, I suppose, for RTOs moving forward with that is like I said before, with the you can't be what you can't see. I think visibility is a massive thing, and making sure that those people in those roles, that's a visible thing for people to be able to aspire to. I think as well, something I mentioned throughout my judging of the WA Apprentice of the Year was some education around the tradespeople that we have currently and how they can better support apprentices and female apprentices in particular. And just clarifying the difference between like equality and equity, and that sometimes, although everyone wants to be treated as equal, sometimes to do that, you need to treat people differently to achieve that same status. So I think a little bit more education around current tradespeople looking to take on apprenticeships or trainers that are looking after apprentices, especially in those diverse groups, is education. Letting them know the best ways to support these people, or putting in place things that make things easier. For example, for me, I work in an industry that's quite a heavy industry, but like the use of hydraulic cutters and some of the technology we have now makes my job a lot easier for me and the men I work with. So things like hydraulic tools and things like that have made the job scene a bit more inclusive. So just RTOs getting around that. But I think the biggest thing is probably education.
I 100% agree with you. And that's what hopefully these new standards are going to do. They're going to make it forefront for RTOs to be on board with this inclusiveness, that you need to be aware of people from diverse backgrounds and genders, and making every effort possible to look after the well-being of their students. And the advice that you've given is great. I 100% agree with what you're saying there. But I know that young women still are apprehensive going into a male-dominated trade for various reasons. So what kind of advice would you give to young women, or even anyone considering a career in a non-traditional field like yourself?
I think for myself, it was not being afraid of what I don't know. I entered the industry completely green. I had no idea of the tools required, or, a lot of the guys that I work around, the other male apprentices, they had basic hand skills. I really started from scratch. So just being aware and not being afraid of what you don't know. And it's okay to not really know what you're doing at the start. That's the whole idea of the apprenticeship, is to learn. But yeah, I think the main thing is around not being scared to take that first step. If you were to ask me 6 or 7 years ago about entering into the distribution trade, I would have laughed, because that definitely wasn't on my scope. But I feel really settled at Western Power. I feel really welcomed and included. So I think most women would be pleasantly surprised by the outcome of joining one of these, male-dominated industries.
And like what you were saying before, you are out there, you're doing it, we can see you, and you haven't just done a great job. You have thrived in the industry. You have been recognised. You've got 2 massive awards under your belt. Congratulations. And young women seeing you, hearing your story, I think is really, really important. And congratulations to you for winning, for going ahead and not being scared, and also for coming and doing interviews and things like this with us and with other organisations to get that message out there that, hey, don't be scared. We can work together to make it great for anyone who wants to come and do trades. You've really challenged us to think about creating a more inclusive future and what each of us can do within our own spheres of influence to break down barriers and foster supportive environments for those around us. So I really just want to thank you for your time speaking with us today, and I'm sure I'm not alone in wishing you all the best in your future endeavours.
Thank you very much. It's been great. Thanks.
You have been listening to TAC Talks with your host Mel Hartley and award winner Amy Hunt.